What's up, guys? It only took a month, but I finally got back on that 52 book challenge. Minor setback, but we'll finish 52 books this year. It's gonna happen, especially since since finishing this book just a couple days ago. I already finished another book, so I'm on my way back. But I finally finished the book I said I would finish next, Cuckoo's Calling, which was, well, that's what the reviews weren't over. So it was a book. It's by, again, I don't really know how to pronounce that name, but it's J.K. Rowling's pseudonym, and this book, for probably the first time in my life, made me in a little bit happy that Harry Potter ended, because J.K. Rowling's skills are not just in the wizarding world. She can craft a tale, and she did so very well in this book. This book is a crime novel, a la Sherlock Holmes or something like that, and it introduces us to a new character who, the detective himself isn't instantly likable. So in a way, he's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes. I think after a couple more novels, I mean, there's two more that I'm going to read eventually. I'm going to space them out a little bit so I can do reviews of them. Don't want to do just the first three all in a row. But I think that this is a character that can be on the level of a Sherlock Holmes, because he has a very cool set of distinct personalities that sets him aside from other characters like that. So it's not just the same, and he's cool and different. And what's cool about it is when you start the novel, he's not the most likable guy, and you slowly learn his history and why he's the way he is throughout the novel, getting little snippets of his personal life and kind of understanding where he comes from. And the way that it's paced out, all these revelations, is very well done. And even though Strike himself, Cormone Strike is the character's name, isn't instantly likable, we are introduced to a character who is instantly likable in his temporary secretary, Robin, who is instantly likable, and she has a very unique perspective on this as someone who's always kind of wanted to do this, but she's also taken away from her personal life, which is already like set. Hey, I'm just gonna go do this office job. I'm just gonna be normal, ordinary American dream style, even though we're in London kind of life, and she's kind of stuck between these, wanting to live that lifestyle and also having this urge of always wanting to have been a detective style. And she's instantly likable. And the one downside of this novel is that during the first half, third to a half, she's a very almost 50% point of view character with Strike, and towards the end, it's more just Strike, and she's less in the novel. She's still there, but not as prominent a figure, which I think is one of the few downsides of this novel, one that's not got very many downsides. The writing itself is obviously great. It's J.K. Rowling, and she delivers it perfectly. Every chapter ends with a pseudo cliffhanger where it's like, all right, I gotta keep reading, and it's once you start reading, it's hard to stop. I think I read the last 200 pages all in one sitting, just because once it hit that rhythm, especially when you started to figure out in your head what was going on, because it's a mystery novel, and as it reveals stuff to you in the perfect way, it's like, all right, I gotta just keep rolling through this, and it's perfectly delivered every chapter. The mystery itself, I thought, was also very strong. You start off in a cool way, much like Strike, who doesn't believe that there actually was a crime. Minor spoilers to the plot. It starts off, a girl falls off a roof. Everyone believes it's suicide. And then there's a character who comes and is like, no, I think it's not suicide, and he hires the private detective, Cormone Strike. He's like, hey, figure out who the real killer is. And you, as the reader, and also Strike himself, believe it was suicide, but they're paying you a lot of money, you gotta do your due diligence, so you're going through and you're following along with these clues, and you slowly start thinking, maybe something can happen, and eventually, where that really picks up pace, is during that second half where it strikes like, no, I think there is a murderer, and it works out well the way that you come to the same conclusions as he does, and it's really cool and letting you lead to your own conclusions, and your own conclusions to what Strike thinks, because he'll say certain things which could apply to multiple characters, and you subconsciously associate that with one character where it actually could influence another. You strike off different people as suspects, and he strikes off different people as suspects at different times. And when it's finally revealed who it is, there's a minor reveal where you kind of there's a certain piece of information that he's looking for throughout the entire second half of the novel. And once you and Strike figure out what that means, you think it applies to one character, and then you later learn it applies to another character. And when I put that together in my head, I was like, oh man, I think I know what that means. But they did such a good way of covering up who the actual person was. I still wasn't drawn to the conclusion of who it was, because they diverted attention away from this character in a great way that when it's finally revealed, it's like, yeah, that would be what that piece of information meant. It's just, I didn't put that together because of how well they diverted attention away from this character and threw it onto another character. But then when you look back and realize what was going on, you realize Strike knew what was going on from that point the whole time, and it's just you, with their information you were giving, was different. So you put it onto a couple of other people, because even towards the end, there's still at least 3 or 4 different people that could be, including the person that you don't think it is, and that's might be who it winds up being. Don't want to spoil too much in case you haven't read this, because it is a great novel. I think it came out 2010 years, so in the last 6 years. I'm not really sure. There've been 3 of these. I think 2012 is going to be where I say it came out. I'm not exactly sure, but I love this novel. I love this world that we're introduced to. It's kind of like a modernish London. It reminds me very much of the world from Sherlock Holmes, except it's just modern London, so very similar. Very similar to main characters in Robin and Strike. I hope in the future novels Robin continues to be on like a 50-50 pace. She does do some cool stuff in the second half that leads to it, but you see it more from Cormine's point of view rather than hers. Really enjoyed this book. Very, very minor setbacks. Like I said, just Robin not being as prominent in the second half, and I feel the first half was a bit weaker, not for that reason, but because you're following along with someone who doesn't really believe there's a crime, and you're not even sure there's a crime until that second half kicks in. But I'm still giving this a perfect 5 out of 5. It's a great book, and like I said, it's for the first time ever that I was like, you know what, maybe it's okay that Harry Potter ended. That's coming from someone who hasn't read The Cursed Child yet, because he still can't accept the fact that that's going to be the last Harry Potter story, so he's put it off as long as possible. But really enjoyed it, and definitely going to read the next 2, which are sitting over here in my book pile. Need to read. But my next couple books, I've already finished the last book in the Heroes Olympus saga. I think it's 5 books. I don't know what that would be. That I've just been putting that off for forever. I finally finished that. I will get a review to that. Probably going to record that after this, but it will be a couple days until then. Then after that, it's going to be The Empire's End, which is the final book in the Star Wars Aftermath trilogy, which basically is a trilogy of Star Wars books that are set right after Return of the Jedi, kind of saying what the Empire did after all that, see what Han, Leia, and Luke are up to, even though they're not main characters, which I've loved the first 2. Well, loved the second one, really enjoyed the first one. Hoping to love the third one. So those are going to be the next 2 book reviews up. Probably after that will be the last book in the Red Pyramid trilogy, which is another Rick Riordan, the guy who does Percy Jackson book. And I'm not sure what's after that, but those are going to be the next 2 and probably 3 if you want to read along and see what my reviews are going to be. Also, I'm going to try to get my review up of Lego Batman. I saw it. I have some interesting ideas on it. I don't want to spoil too much, but I disagree and agree on some points with other people, I'll put it that way. And then I also have my first, I might have done, I know I did DLC reviews for, I think this might be my first full game review, which is going to come up, at least my first full of the year. Hopefully going to have some of those, but going to be late on those because I don't get early copies and games take a long time to play. That should also be coming to you this week, so expect a good amount of videos this week. Not sure if I'm going to put the second book review up this week or not. I want to space them out a little bit, but it might be up this week. If not, it'll be early next week. The other videos will come to you this week, and thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. I'm going to put my hand on the camera now because that's what I do.